Hi, I'm so glad you've joined me and welcome to my channel. My name is Betsy and I'm a nurse of over 40 years with a passion for helping people. I want to help people find the calm in the midst of crises by providing education, motivation, and inspiration by using my unique combination of knowledge and experience in nursing, risk and safety, wellness, and biblical training and understanding, along with stories of other people's lives as well as my own. So thank you. I'm so glad you're here. Now, if you'd like to go get something to take notes with, feel free and join me as I talk about finding the calm in the midst of a crisis. So when we talk about a crisis, what do we mean? I think everybody knows that it's something totally unexpected, but for those of you that like definitions, need my glasses here, I thought I'd pull up Merriam-Webster on my phone, since we all typically use phones, and read some of what she said. She has the turning point for better or worse in an acute disease or fever, an emotionally significant event or radical change of status in a person's life, a decisive moment, but that's in like a literary plot, but who of us can't say some of our lives sometimes seem like stories. Sometimes, on some days it can be like a nightmare. On other days, oh well. Anyways, another one is an unstable or crucial time or state of affairs in which a decisive change is impending, or a situation that has reached a critical phase. So, given that we all really understand that crises are things that typically come on suddenly, or they can come with time, but then it reaches a point of where it's gotten to be something that really is a very stressful situation. And we know that crises can be all kinds. They can be financial, they can be emotional, they can be physical. As a nurse, I know that one of the hardest things is always for a family member to be in a hospital, because it affects everybody in their family, their circle, their work, and it's typically not without financial problems. I mean, it just really is a very stressful situation. And having been a nurse and also as a patient, I have a unique understanding of that. And of course, will want to share some of my things with you on how those crises can be helped. They can also be crises like losing a job, and who of us doesn't know somebody that in this last year of 2020 with COVID has not lost a job or position or had to change things. It's been a year full of crises for really, I think, everybody, but in different ways. Now let's talk about, do all people experience a crisis the same? Well, yes and no. It just really depends on the person, because really sometimes what's a crisis to you may not be a crisis to somebody else. If you lose your job and your family relies on that income, that's going to be much worse than somebody who's fairly well off and has another spouse that has an income that's more than enough to provide for their needs. So understand, that's one understanding. Also, people just are different in personalities, different in things that they've been through. Sometimes people have already been through so many crises that another one of a similar nature can be very hard. When they had the tsunamis over in Asia, it was found that the children after the tsunamis couldn't drink from cups of water where they could see the water coming at them. They actually had to put cardboard over the cups so the children wouldn't be terrified. So there's all kinds of things that work in how we respond to crises. Another thing I really want to talk about that affects the way you respond to a crisis, or if you even see it as a crisis, is their worldview. Now, I got these spheres here that I had purchased, and these spheres can get bigger and smaller, but what I want to use them is these are different types of worldviews. So you might have the worldview where somebody that comes in a different culture, perhaps somebody that has a very different type of religion. Maybe there's somebody who doesn't believe in God at all. And maybe there's somebody else who's had always things handed to them on the platter and really has been spared having to go through crises and difficult times. So these can be different worldviews. They can also be things where people can even change their worldviews depending on if they're like, maybe they take up a religion, or maybe they put one down, or maybe they take up a different philosophy of thinking. All that affects our worldview. And I'd like to explain it in even a bigger manner. And using a larger sphere, I would like to demonstrate this. So when you take on a worldview, say if you had one of those, it's like expanding that and you place it over your head. Do you see? My head is in the middle of this, and everything that comes towards me, if these things here are like synapses and different things in your brain, different things that value, it all creates a worldview, even on the top. So everything that is coming at you is really viewed and taken by your brain and your thoughts, depending on a variety of things, which can be a combination of your personality, your upbringing, your thought life, what you value, what you don't. That all kind of combines to make a world view, and how you really relate, how you take in things, and how that you relate that inside, and how you relate to others, how you relate to even the metaphysical world, whether you think there's a God or not, and if there is a God, what kind of God, or is there, there's just so many things. But a worldview, most times you can't just pick it up and put it on. It's kind of a thing that you have to, that comes with you, and sometimes you certainly can purposely change it. I've had that happen, and I'll explain that later, and others have too. So those are some things to really think about. Now, when we have a crisis, how do we respond? I mean, some people fall apart. Some are planners, and they love to plan, and they have everything in. Like, I was a Girl Scout and a nurse, so I'm married for 28 years to my husband, Bohan, but I tend to be more of the planner and have everything in line because I've seen the result of what happens when you don't. I mean, I tell everybody when I worked in the hospital that nobody plans on being in the hospital, not even some of the pregnant women. So I know, and so I'm always trying to have things. But even with that, the thing is that crises are always going to be a part of our life. And I think that's one of the biggest things that will help people, is if you expect that there are going to be those times where hardships come, where challenges arise that really cause you and perhaps your family, your circle, the people that you are with, really are tugged and pulled. And I mean, even like last year, and actually for me, for all these years, having seen people lose their lives in the midst of crises, from even the tiniest of babies, prenatal, all the way through to when I took care of hospice patients, or those with, when something's awry, people just want to control. It's because you don't want that pain. You don't want the suffering. So it's like, I have to find some place of control. But a lot of times in crises, as we have found out, you can't control people. You can't. Some days you have a hard enough time just controlling yourself, believe me. But trying to control your husband, your children, your loved ones, your partner, whatever, is very, very, well, you just can't do it. Let's just say it. You can't control other people. And trying to do so is just going to cause even greater crisis. So control does not necessarily bring calm to a situation. It sometimes can lessen the impacts of the situation, but it doesn't always be control. So what is the calm that I'm talking about? Well, it's beyond the physical realm, because physically things can always go amok. Things can always happen, and there's no guarantee that things are going to get better. Like my hands, see my hands? They've hurt nonstop for 10 years. They're so arthritic I can't even make fists anymore. It's part of the reason I couldn't continue doing nursing. And so there are things that you have to live with long term sometimes. And but how do you do that? How do you deal with the situations? Maybe it's a family member that's done something, or an off in a lifestyle, or maybe involved with drugs or whatever, that affects everybody. So how do you do that when you can't control that? Where do you go to when you're in the midst of a crisis and there's no control? There's hardship, there's pain, there's suffering. This is where my biblical understanding and experience comes in. At the age of 17, I found out that there was something greater than myself. And I committed my life to the Lord Jesus Christ. I know for some of you that may seem odd, a bit like, ooh, out there. Some of you may be totally against it. Some of you may be atheists. You don't understand it. But I'm just going to let you know that was a change in my life. And so it's been over 45 years, and I have worked critical care. I have lived until I was 35 by myself, and worked as a nurse in different parts of the country, West Virginia, and in the inner city of Camden, New Jersey. So I've traveled, I've done a lot of things on my own, and believe me, there were a lot of moments of crises. But my faith, and I know some of you know exactly what I'm talking about, and even as a nurse, it was those people that had that something beyond the physical to hold on to. So my videos will be addressing all these different things to help find the calm in the crisis. So you'll have to come back. I'll be talking about what you can do on practical levels, such as how you can prepare yourself, how to take care of yourself, wellness. I mean, I'm not going to hide my age. I'm 63. This is my real hair. I don't dye it. I don't do anything. My husband is 61, and neither of us are on any medications. We're on supplements, and I don't say that to be bragging, but just because some people have no choice and things just come on you. And so I don't want to act like that at all. But I do want to let you know that my husband and I both have actually a combined experience of over 80 years, because he's been in fitness, nutrition, and wellness for over 40 years. So we'll be sharing that, but I'll also be sharing some other things as well. And then, of course, my understanding as far as the faith matters, which I think is true, and what I know to have helped me in all these many years, and even in 2020 and beyond. So thank you for joining me. I appreciate each and every one of you for coming. I'm going to be answering some of the difficult questions that people have asked about, even, is there a God? If there's a God, what or who is the God like? Why does God allow these things? And even things to like biblical text, why is the Old Testament, all this stuff. So I want to address those things because those things sometimes can affect our belief and our hope in something far greater than ourselves. And that, to me, and by what I believe is God. So thank you once again. I look forward to joining you again on the next time. Please join me every Tuesday and Thursday for my videos. If you like this video, please subscribe. You can comment and share. In fact, comment and tell me where you're from, or share something that you're struggling with and you'd like me to address. I mean, come on, people. I was a triage nurse for over 7 years. That's one of my many things that I did in my 40 years. And I was a nurse throughout the whole lifespan, from prenatal, NICU, well-born, chronically medically complex children, home care, clinic work, risk and safety. I have done a lot of things. So please, send me a question, send me comments, send me things you'd like, and I will look at those and address those in some videos in the future. All right, until next time.